So I finally now have some time to actually get a video out. The big geology conference of the year was actually just in town, so I was so busy with that. But now we get back to some Disney and videos. Also, you may notice now a slight little name change with my channel. I decided to change it from Zip-a-Dee-Doo Disney to Zip-a-Dee Emily. I always felt like the channel name was just a little bit long, so I'd been thinking for a while of kind of just streamlining it. And then I think it's also just kind of good to remove Disney itself from the name, just so I'm not using their actual named branding and I can have something that's kind of my own. So if you see videos coming from Zip-a-Dee Emily, that is in fact me. But so for today, I wanted to take it back to a nice, super old school video. Pretty much all of the earliest videos I did on my channel were showing different parts of my pin collection. Over time, I kind of came to show most of the collections that I have. Obviously, there's been a lot of updates, but one particular thing that I have not yet shown that's kind of developed and grown over time is specifically my Disneyland pin collection. So these are pins that are specifically related to, exclusive to the Disneyland Resort. Most of them kind of belong right in my parks and attractions pins, but there are a few that are kind of scattered about. So we're going to do a bit of a walking tour with this. But I'm only showing the pins that are something that is specifically Disneyland, not just like sometimes there are monthly limited edition pin releases that you can only get at Disneyland. The pin itself has to do with something about the resort. And so since it's Disneyland, I put on my brand new beignet Mickey ears that I just made, inspired by the Mickey beignets at the Mint Julep Bar. So let's go ahead and take a tour of all of my Disneyland pins. So I'm going to start by going through the Disneyland pins that I have on my attraction board here. I have a base with the Walt Disney World park map and kind of pins scattered throughout. So I don't really have things set up in like a cohesive whole Disneyland section. But I'm going to start off with this pin because this is actually the first limited edition pin that I bought in the park myself. I got this on my first trip to Disneyland in January 2017. And this is a really awesome piece of history pin. So it has a tiny little piece of one of the actual flags from the turrets of Sleeping Beauty Castle. Next to that, this guy here is a little partner statue pin. It has the Walt and Mickey statue and then the castle behind it. And then I've also showed I have the matching Walt Disney World version to this pin. Here's just an open edition rack pin for the Matterhorn bobsleds. Matterhorn is such a classic ride, but it really does jostle you up. It was also so hard to find this pin in the parks. Like I scoured all the pin carts and I found it at like one place. Then up here is this little Radiator Springs Racers pin. It's got a little pin-on pin of a sculpted piston cup. And the whole of Cars Land in DCA really is awesome. Over here I have two World of Color pins. World of Color is my favorite nighttime show. You can find that over at California Adventure. And these both were just open edition rack pins. This one I actually found at my Disney Store outlet. Right below that there is this super cute Mickey pin. He's in front of Carthay Circle, which is, I guess, one of the park icons for California Adventure. I'm pretty sure this pin was a limited edition annual pass holder exclusive. Now, if you can see these two pins here, these are the type of pins that I'm not going to show because these are basically like shared attraction pins. Although these are ones that I got at Disneyland and they are things at Disneyland, you can obviously find Space Mountain at Disney World and Fantasmic at Disney World, and there's no park branding. But this pin here is quite a big guy, and this one I got for super cheap on eBay. It is a jumbo pin of a Disneyland opening day ticket. This was released as part of Disneyland's 50th anniversary series. And I'd like to say it's like a limited edition of 500. Here I have another Disneyland piece of history pin, and this is another one that I also bought in the park myself. I got this on our summer trip last year, and this commemorates the Disneyland Diamond celebration for their 60th anniversary. I didn't go to the park at all during the Diamond celebration, but I love the castle on this, and I love having piece of history pins. This marquee pin here is one that I've shown a number of times before. I love that it has actual little fabric pieces in the flags. It's a really nice sized, super pretty pin. And this was actually an open edition that had been released as part of Disneyland's 50th anniversary. There's not super good light to see just how shiny and glittery this pin is. This is like the most glittery pin I own. And this is an awesome pin because I got it for super cheap at my Disney Store outlet. But just a super nice, classy Disneyland Resort castle pin. And then next to that one is this really neat Disneyland stained glass window pin. This was a part of a series that they did for the castles. This was another super cheap steal on eBay. I like how it has the little rhinestones on it. And then right next to it, you can see the Walt and Mickey pin that I recently got from the D23 Expo. If you remember my video when I showed that I got it, it had a little D23 2019 logo there, and I wanted to remove it, so I did. It was actually way harder than I anticipated. I actually ended up having to like sand it off, but then I put some glittery nail polish on there to make it a little bit more interesting. And so I have this Walt and Mickey pin right next to my Walk and Walt's Disneyland Footsteps pin. This summer, my friend Sarah and I did the Walk and Walt's Disneyland Footsteps tour. And then as part of the tour, you actually get this commemorative pin, which is super large and a hinge pin. On the inside, it has the partner statue and a Walt quote there. And then it has the Disneyland opening day plaque engraving. So just a super awesome pin, really great souvenir from the tour. The pin above it I'm actually going to take off because it has a super cool element. This was a former tour pin, I think when they were doing that tour during the 50th anniversary. And this is commemorating the lamp that they always leave on in Walt Disney's apartment. And it's actually quite thick because there's a little switch on the side. The light is supposed to go on and mine used to, and now it seems like it just got burnt out. So that's a bummer, but just imagine that that lights up there. This looks like a battery pack where you can actually unscrew and replace the battery, so I'm gonna have to look into doing that. But this was another super cheap eBay find. Then there's this really cool Buena Vista Street red car trolley pin. This one I actually got quite a while ago, back when I was getting the theme park monthly pin subscription. And this pin is one that I had only seen in there. I've never seen it in the parks, but I really like the design on it. Then there's a few more California Adventure themed pins. I have the ride pin for Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout because I love that attraction so much. It's so much fun. And then right above that, I have an Incredicoaster pin with Dash and Let's Do That Again. To match the partner statue, there is the Storyteller's statue in DCA. This is a really cool full sculpted pin with Walt and Mickey there. I really like that. And then you can see right next to it, this is one of the pretty new pins I have, and this is commemorating a Big Thunder Mountain Railroad's 40th anniversary at Disneyland. So I like that it's just kind of quite nice and subtle with a 40 up there. But then I do have yet another 40th anniversary Big Thunder Mountain pin. This one is actually a cast member exclusive. The train on there is actually a little bit of a movable element. It only has the 40 there in really small type, which I enjoy. But I like that it specifically has Disneyland on there and the year it was established. Now we're going to jump up to some Disneyland pins I have at the top. So this is a really neat, super awesome jumbo Disneyland ear hat pin. It has all these really pretty jewels on it. This I know was another cheap find on eBay. You can probably sense a pattern that I like to hunt out the eBay deals. This is a pin that I love, and it actually has an origin that you might not think it would be. This comes from the Soarin' Mystery Pin Set. And this is the Disneyland exclusive one. All of the pins are shared between the two parks, except for the pin that either has Disneyland or Epcot. And I just love how pretty this is with the purples and pinks. So you have two more Disneyland pins here. This one I just got on my last trip. It's a beautiful sculpted Disneyland D with a castle turret. And then next to it, this is also another mystery pin. This comes from a kind of stylized attractions pin set. And then I have some Disneyland year-dated pins. Unfortunately, 2017 is just a shared one. It's not exclusive, but I do have a Disneyland one with Minnie on it for 2018. And then I have the one with Mickey on it for 2019. So those are the years commemorating when I visited Disneyland. I'm going to kind of quickly combine and show the 4 pins I have from the Disneyland Little Flair set. So it comes with a nice Disneyland marquee, some Mickey balloons. It has a little castle with a home cloud underneath it, and then the sign of "Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy." I have this Disneyland limited edition 64th Happy Birthday pin, and this was actually sent to me by Phil, who is a subscriber and an annual pass holder, and that was so nice. And then beneath that, I have the 63 years pin. This was another limited edition that I actually was able to purchase myself last year. I love the design on this one. I think it's so pretty and classic. And now I have a little series of birthday pins. But you can see this little Disneyland pin. This was just a relatively new open edition pin, kind of like a sketchbook style Mickey in front of the castle. And then over here I have a Disneyland Pirates of the Caribbean piece of history pin. So this is specifically from Disneyland, and in there is a little tiny piece of the bumpers from the boats. So I believe I've hit all of the Disneyland exclusives on this board. I'm gonna bump over to this series of pins here, which is the Disneyland Crests of the Kingdom that they're releasing this year. This is such a gorgeous series. I kind of started collecting it a little bit later in the year. I do have the 9th pin coming. That one was just released. But you have the pins for Mr. Toad, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, Enchanted Tiki Room, Space Mountain, Jungle Cruise, It's a Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Haunted Mansion. Now, these are hinge pins and they do open up, and all of the enamel that's on the inside of all these pins is really awful quality. It's like so bad. So it's nice that the front of the pins are just so beautiful and sculpted that I just love displaying them like this as is. On the little board above there, I have 2 more Disneyland pins. This is part of my kind of resorts that I've stayed at. So I've stayed at the Disneyland Hotel one time, and then last year we stayed at the Paradise Pier Hotel, and this has a cute little hinge, and you can see a whole little Mickey lifeguard beach scene. So this pin up here is a kind of oddball straggler. This was part of a release series when DCA was first opening in 2001, and it's commemorating Superstar Limo, basically the worst attraction Disney has ever created. So I think it's funny to just kind of have a pin like this, but also this pin is signed on the back, and I have no idea who the signature is. It looks like it could be like a David Wills something. If anybody knows who this might be, I'd love to know. These are actually Disney Visa card member pins that have been released for this year, but they do both feature Sleeping Beauty Castle on them. I love where it has one where it's Mickey kind of as black and white steamboat Mickey, and then more of a full color modern Mickey. I do have some Disneyland branded pin specific pins. So these are from some older limited edition Disneyland series. I love this where it's like hunting for pins, kind of Mickey as Sherlock, because we've got to look out for those pins. Then there's another one that's branded with Disneyland Resort, and it says, if the pin fits. And so it's one of the little birds flying around with a little pin lanyard. Now jumped over to my Splash Mountain board because I have a few pins on here that are Disneyland exclusives. So this is a Splash Mountain pin. This actually, the center spins on it, and it does specifically say branded Disneyland on there. I then have 2 Disneyland limited edition piece of history pins. So this first pin in there contains little pieces of the Showboat Dancer's dress from Disneyland. And then this piece of history pin does actually say Disneyland on it, but this has a little piece, I'm pretty sure, from the Brer Fox animatronics clothing. This one is also cool because the Brer Fox is a little slider element on there. This here is a Disneyland 2009 pin. I love the classic kind of Disneyland logo there, and it's got a happy looking Brer Fox on it. I then have 2 branded Disneyland Splash Mountain anniversary pins. So this is a really old one. This is for only the 10th anniversary from way back in 1999. And then I have the one that they came out with this year for Splash Mountain's 30th anniversary. So this was the limited edition release available in the parks. One final Splash-related Disneyland exclusive. I actually got this relatively recently. I think it's super cool. Pretty sure it's a limited edition. It says, where everybody has a laughing place at Disneyland Resort, with Brer Rabbit sitting in front of the Briar Patch. I do technically have 2 Tower of Terror exclusive Disneyland pins, really extinct California Adventure ones. This was from an exclusive Attractions mystery pin set there. And then I do have this pin, which is actually a WDI pin, and it's specifically a California Adventure attraction poster pin for the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Up at the top of this board, I also have my little Disneyland Star Wars Galaxy's Edge pin collection. So these are all the pins here I have that are exclusive to Disneyland. This was the monthly countdown release series. So these are all limited edition pins. They're exclusive to Disneyland. I vastly prefer the designs of these pins than the designs that they released for the Walt Disney World release. I have the kind of opening day / opening season where it has the specific opening date for Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge. And then I actually have this pin that I got as part of my resort stay package this summer. So this was the travel company pin and specifically branded to Disneyland Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I've had to take down my geology and earth science pin board at top because there actually are a number of Disneyland exclusive pins on here. So this was a Disneyland, I'm pretty sure it would have to be an Earth Day related pin, Love the Land Disneyland Resort. There's then this super awesome Grand Canyon diorama Disneyland Park 60th anniversary pin. It is so beautiful. I love the purple. The train also is a slider and moves. And I'm pretty sure that was a cast member exclusive pin. And then next to it, you have this Ornament Valley Velocity pin. This was from the Disneyland exclusive version of their Mascots pin. So that is commemorating Radiator Springs Racers. And then I have some kind of old school California adventure pins. Shown this pin a number of times before. The San Andreas shakes with a little shaking shake on there. That used to be an old little quick service stand. I then have two Mickey mining pins. These were kind of when the park was more geared toward California history. You can see the Grizzly Peak icon in the background there. And then I have one more. This is a limited edition pin. This was part of an Artist's Choice series. And you can see Mickey camping in a tent and then Grizzly Peak in the distance. And then I have one other Disneyland themed pin, and that is this Wally World of Color pin. It actually is this full plastic bubble on the front, so it's pretty cool. But I have this with my Wally collection instead of with the other World of Color themed pins, since this was a little bit more Wally centric geared. So I'm pretty sure that then hits and covers all of the Disneyland centric and Disneyland Resort exclusive pins that I have in my collection. I've definitely kind of like run out of room on this main attractions board that I have here. So that might mean that it's time for expansion, but then I also have the park map here that kind of takes up a lot of real estate. So I'll have to see how I want to rearrange this. But as always, thanks for watching.